So today's video is how we edited this shot of George and Ed. This was originally shot down in London in the Spotify studios, and the space was fairly decent, but it wasn't quite as high as what I wanted it to be for the lighting and the way that we like to shoot. So this is using a bit more Generatve Expand and some little tricks here and there with quick selection and things like that, just so we can clean up the background, make it a bigger canvas and get a good result. So yeah, here's how we edited it. So this is a shot in Lightroom. It's essentially just a shot of two people. There wasn't a massive amount of space to kind of get a really big wide angle shot. It was quite a low ceiling in the studio, but Spotify studios, if you ever do get the chance to go, it is incredible. The podcast studios, the photo studio, the whole building is absolutely unreal to be in and to work in. Shout out to Spotify for letting us use that space. We're going to open this in Photoshop. So what we're going to do is pretty much like we've done before. We're going to do a Generatve Expand and then use some other tools just to kind of bring things out a little bit, make sure we've got what we want and where we want to get to. So because it's not the biggest image, we're going to make it a little bit bigger with Generatve Expand. We're probably going to use it in like a square aspect. Just gives the graphic design team for the podcast a little bit more room to work with. If they want to flip the image around, if they want to put text behind, there's the space to do that in. So because we're not actually wanting it to take anything away from this, we're going to leave it blank, and we're just going to generate an empty space basically to get all that information out. Sometimes it might pick up little bits, it might pick up bits of artifacts, it might see this little bit here from one of the backdrops that we kind of couldn't get out of the way without filling the space in to you know, fill bits in. It might find a light source somewhere and put that in, which is kind of done here. It might not get the greatest information from it, but you can regenerate again if you want. If I'm honest, this one is okay because we're going to clean all this out in a second anyway. We're going to lift the subject off the layer and then brush it over. So the first thing we're going to do is just flatten this image down into one layer and work on one layer for now. We're going to hit our selection tool, select the first person that we want. Just going to go in once it's selected them, make sure it's got all the bits that we need, all of the hair and stuff like that. It's done a pretty decent job. We'll just hold shift and sort of scan over again, just because we want to get rid of that bit and make sure it's filled everything it's needed to do. Next thing, we hit shift again and hit the other subject. That will then select them as sort of one thing. So if you do have a situation where you have like two people separate, or there's no sort of overlap and Photoshop can't pick out that that's one person or that's going to be also part of your selection, just hold shift and it will let you select them as well. Alternatively, hold alt and it will deselect them, or you can deselect a part by doing that. I'm quite happy with that selection, so I'm going to hit Command J. What this does is it puts the selection on its own layer. So if we disable the background layer, we now just have the two people on their own layer, but we do want the background layer as well. So we're going to select the background layer. Because I'm going to take all of the colour out of the background anyway, because it wants to be nice and clean, I'm going to hit Shift, Command and U. That desaturates your background layer, or desaturates whatever layer you're on. The next thing you're going to do is we're just going to pick our brush and we're just going to get some colour from the background layer, maybe around here, keeping it around maybe sort of 40-ish%, and we're just going to paint all of this background the same colour. So nice big brush, nice and soft, just gets rid of these lines, not too much to worry about. We may look at keeping some of the shadow, but it's not necessary really that we have it all in, so we might just do something with it where it's just a bit of a space instead. We'll just give this another brush over. Because it's only a 40% brush, it's not taking up all of the information out or anything like that, so kind of giving the impression that we've got a good even light in. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm quite happy with the shadow. I'm quite happy with what we've got as a selection. The next thing we're going to do is just go onto our top layer and make sure we've got some detail in the features that we like, or that we like to keep. So we'll go onto dodge and burn. As we've done before, one of the things we like to do in portraits is just make the eyes a little bit brighter. So just shrink the brush down a little bit just so it fits in. Ed's eyes are quite bright anyway. We're just going to bring them up a little touch, and then we're going to do the same here with George's as well. There's nothing else really correction wise I kind of want to get out of that. There's no marks on the skin I want to remove. We want to keep it fairly natural, and we also want to keep it as clear as we can for the next person to do their bit, or do their bit of their work. So we'll save the image. We're going to go back into Lightroom and just do a few final tweaks in Lightroom, maybe using our presets that we like to use. The studio one is a favorite that I kind of made that I do like to use on this. I'm going to bring the intensity of it down just to around sort of 60%, and then maybe also just bring some of the blacks back into the image as well, and then that's it. It's a nice clean shot. It's got a lot of information on there, or a lot of space for the graphic design team to put some information in. If they want to move it, they want to flip it around, there's a space to do that. There's space to put text in and all that kind of thing as well. So because it's a nice curved wall, we could be quite sort of generous with how we filled it and how we cleaned up that background. It's not a paper backdrop like this one where there's a lot of texture on it. It's literally a painted wall that's curved. So we can be quite intense with how much we're painting over it and not worrying about, you know, saving texture and things like that. So that's it. That was the shot we did down at Spotify of George and Ed, ready for their podcast to get launched. This was done a few months ago. So that's how we go from a really sort of tight shot that's, even though it's full body, just to having a shot that's got a bit more space and a lot more to work with. And that's it. See you in the next one. Thanks for everyone who's you know, reached out so far and is enjoying the videos. It's nice to make them and it's daunting, but I do quite enjoy it. So yeah, if you want to keep watching, great. If you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button below. There is another one where we've used Generatve Expand that I will link up this side or this side. I don't know which side it goes on, to one of the shots that we did previously. And see you in the next one.